Welcome to You've Got This with Sarah Hamaker, a podcast to encourage and equip moms along their parenting journey. Join Sarah each week as she interviews dads and moms like you and discusses the joys, challenges, and rewards of raising kids.
Hi, and welcome to this week's You've Got This. I'm your host, Sarah Hamaker, and I'm so glad you joined me. Today I have with me Rachel Martin, who blogs about finding joy at findingjoy.net and has also written The Brave Art of Motherhood. She is a busy woman. She has her content on the Huffington Post, iVillage, Today Show. I can go on, but you can read her bio and find out all the wonderful places that she's shared her thoughts on motherhood. And I love, Rachel, I love the finding joy as kind of your theme, because isn't that what motherhood should be all about? It should be about joy.
You know what? I think that is exactly what it's about. And the finding joy came to me. And actually, I've written about finding joy for so long, but I really think that there's a difference between joy and happiness. And happiness is like, a birthday, surprise party, the perfect cup of coffee, something like that that's just in the moment. But joy to me is this deeper heart posture of really looking for something that is good and beautiful in the midst of whatever situation and season you're in. And I think that really is motherhood, because there's so many days where it's just normal, or it's trying, or it's difficult. And it's a posture of learning to look at life and being grateful for where you are.
I love that too, because that's part of the reason that I love being a parent coach, is that I want to help moms and some dads too to rediscover that joy that there are tough times with our kids. I mean, there's always going to be tough times, but we can still have that joy. We should still have that joy. We should enjoy our children. Sometimes I talk to moms and I can just hear in their voice that they don't really like their kids. And that just kind of breaks my heart, because of whatever issue is going through, whatever drama is going on in their home, they have just kind of gotten off caliber. They need to be recalibrated kind of into that, oh, right, we love our children and let's get back into that.
Right. Well, I think sometimes it comes down to that idea that maybe you don't like what they're doing. And that's a different thing to me than not liking them. And I think that's okay for us as parents. Like when my son comes home from school and he's forgotten to turn his homework in for the 14th time and I have another email, I don't like that. I feel it makes me frustrated, and I'll tell him, I'll be like, dude, I don't like this behavior. This isn't the behavior that we're working towards. And I think when you can recognize that you don't like certain behaviors, that it almost is this freeing place of, I love you. Like I tell them, I love you so much, but I don't like this choice that you're making. And in that, there's like almost that margin of freedom and kind of grace for us as moms as well.
And I think that it also frees our children to know that they are not tied to their behavior. Who they are isn't always what they do.
Yeah, I think that's completely true. I want grace for the times that I mess up. I put a story on Instagram about my son, Sam, all weekend. He had this game that he wanted to play. And all weekend I was like, in a minute, not right now. I just can't do it. I kept pushing it off. Monday comes, I'm getting him ready for school. I look and the game is still on the table, but he had packed it up and put it away. And I was like, knife in my mom heart. I felt just that guilt. But here's the cool part is I told Sam, I said, hey, when you get home from school, can we play that game? And he's like, that would be awesome. He didn't see that whole weekend where I said no. Like he saw that I said yes. He had more grace for myself than I did. And it was this moment of like, yeah, I stumbled. But what matters the most is I stood up again and then we played the game.
Yeah, and I think that when we make those little mistakes, because, I'll be honest here, I've done the same thing. I'm like, no. And then, and I hate myself when I do that, when it's something that should be an easy yes, playing a game with my kids. Right. And I'm like, but for whatever reason, my day is just imploding in a magnificent way. Could be another child needs me, could be just work or whatever. The cat needs to go to the vet, or there's all kinds of things that can make our days crazy. And yet kind of remembering that need, that connection need for my kid, and either meeting that need as soon as I can, or kind of replacing it with something else. Like my two boys, as my listeners know, they're in 5th and 6th grade. And sometimes if I can't, spend 15, 20 minutes playing something with them, I will tell them a joke when they get home from school.
That's awesome. That's so good.
2 minutes, like one, I look it up, I say it, and they're just like, they think that's just great. And we can make different connections with our kids. And sometimes we can replace the connection that they're seeking if we don't literally have the time to do it. And I think we forget that sometimes it's not about the game. Right. It's about spending time with mom or having mom notice me.
Yeah. And, I think for all of us, it's all different. It's all a different story. There isn't one formula for us as parents. And we should know that because every child is totally different. Like what worked with one doesn't work with the next. And I really believe it's kind of a season and figuring out what matters to your child in that moment. This year, without even realizing it, the first couple days of school, I've put a little Post-it note in their lunchbox or their snack. And for some reason this year, that is what has resonated with my 3rd and 5th grader is that note. And there are some mornings where after you've written 100 notes, you don't know quite what to say anymore. I've looked up joke of the day. I've done all sorts of stuff, but I'll just scribble something and I'll forget about it. And then the second the kids get off the bus, they'll come running to me talking about that note. And so it motivates me every day to take that 30 seconds of what am I going to write today? I love you, Mom, something.
Right.
Because I know for them, this small little thing matters. Well, I shared about it and some moms would write in, well, it's already at 100 days. I haven't started. And I said, it doesn't matter that it's been 100 days. What matters is if you start now or you figure out what matters to your kids, because there's a chance it might not matter to somebody else's kids. For some reason this year, that's the thing.
And it's so important for us to pay attention to our kids because, you have 7 children. Are they all in school still?
My youngest is 9, and my oldest is going to be, this blows me away, is going to be 23.
Okay.
So, yeah, she graduated college.
Okay. Well, congratulations.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
That must feel like such a feat. Such a feat. So, right. So, however many children in school, you said you did it for all your kids, but it resonated with 2.
Right. Well, I only did it for my youngest 2 that are still in elementary. My middle schooler, my middle schooler and high schooler, we communicate via text. Anytime, in our house, I could be downstairs and he could be upstairs and I'll send him a text. But I realized that's just the way they're used to communicating. And sometimes you'll read articles like, oh, the dangers of it. And I said, there is you have to be diligent with social and all of that. But I also think there's a tremendous amount of good. And if you look back when you and I were younger, we communicated in different ways with our friends. And if I can get on the level of where they communicate, then I have this chance to have this connection with them. So I communicate via text. Sometimes they send me memes and I tell them I have no idea what this is, but it must be funny. And we just try to move on.
Right. And and my listeners heard me talk about this before. My 2 teenage daughters love Korean pop music. And,
that's fine.
And K-drama. Oh my goodness. We can talk offline forever about that, I'm sure. So, but one of my oldest daughters is 16. And she says, Mom, you have to watch this drama with me. And Descendants of the Sun, in case anyone's interested. And I said, okay. So I watched it with her, and it was a decent drama, with the subtitles in Korean. And then we finished that, and now we're watching our second drama. She's already picking our third drama. And I'm like, I could really care less about Korean drama. Okay.
Right.
And I could really care less about their little crushes on these, Korean drama stars. But this is the language that speaks to her, that shows her that I care. And so I pay attention, and I remember how to pronounce the stars' names, and I remember the storylines because it's important to her. And that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about ways to help our children feel that connection with us. We don't have to fake it, and I'm not all, talking about it all the time, because they would see right through that.
Right, exactly. You have a poster on your wall
right.
now. Yeah.
No, they have all the posters on their walls. So good. And, but I listen, and I encourage, and I participate when possible, and to get that connection. And I think when we have that connection with our kids, when you make the effort to text them and to try to figure out those memes that they send, and I watch the Korean dramas and whatever else we do with our other kids, it helps them to feel, loved. And it also helps us when we have to do that correction and that discipline, because they feel close to us.
Well, it's that investment in them. It's an investment in who they are as people. And I can see that reversed back to me. I can see it modeled back. Like, I love to play the piano. I've played since I was a little girl. And when I play the piano, my same son that I text, he'll come down and he'll just say, I really like it when you play the piano. And he's 13 and I'm playing classical music. And it's not even that maybe, I don't know if he appreciates it or not. He just knows to invest in others. And I can see it with him, with his younger siblings, and with when my one daughter works at Starbucks. Whenever she gets home, he will stand up and he'll say, how was your day at work? And it's such a beautiful thing. But I think I really believe it has to be modeled.
Yes.
Granted, he is a very empathetic person to begin with, so he probably has extra points there he just started that way. But I do think there is a level of modeling of behavior and investing in others in that way.
Yeah. And one of the ways that we've tried to do that is, when we have family dinners, which we have almost every night of the week, everyone gets a chance to say something about their day. I never ask, how was your day? I do that when I get school because I'm going to get the fine. No, I said, share, tell us something about your day, and they can pick anything.
Right.
And so they share about their day, and, the kids ask questions, and then they, it's been interesting because you feel like you're offering that connection. I'm not saying, if they don't mention a test I know they had, I may ask them when they're done, how was your test or something like that. But it's been, it has that interest, and then everyone has to listen to everyone else. So it's kind of a good practice on that empathy, on how to get that in your family.
Yeah, I agree. And, our kids live in a different type of environment that you and I grew up with. And sometimes I have to back off a little bit. I don't know about your kids, but I can go onto the computer and log into a computer system and see almost in real time their grades at school and stuff. And I have to actually allow them to be kids and allow them to make mistakes before I'm on them. How come you have that late paper? Because it's a level of pressure that I certainly didn't grow up with. But I also, because my parents didn't see the grades until the teacher called or the report card.
Right.
And so I realized that if I'm the one constantly hounding them by what I observe, then they're not learning that on their own. So there's this balance of me kind of knowing that it's something is not handed in, and then setting this expectation of myself to wait 7 days or whatever to see if my kid he'll self-correct without me always being the one to be on his case. And I think there's this really beautiful kind of balance there of teaching them to be responsible and teaching myself to not be hovering over them, kind of giving them the field to roam in as a child. And I always tell them, I don't need to put a noose around your neck, but you have this space to roam in. If you make mistakes, and we talk about it, try again. But if you keep making it, that field is going to get a little bit smaller.
Right.
So respect the space that I'm giving you right now. And I really believe that is where that openness, that ability to be empathetic, that idea that, you know what, mom's actually on my side and she thinks I'm going to do well kind of comes from.
Yeah. And I think also, Rachel, that it gives them the ability to have their own story without me or, you know, my kid's dad always being the one to define what should be important to them. Because again, we could see all those grades, and this year finally I'm down to only like quarterly emails or something. I usually delete them. I try not to even look at their grades because it's really none of my business. I mean, they're responsible enough. I know they're in,
right.
You know, but I think in middle school I got like so many emails, and my girls are back to back in school. So our middle school is like 7th and 8th grade, and I must have when they were in 7th and 8th grade, I must have gotten like, I don't know, 30 emails a week from all their teachers, which was way too much information. You know, I didn't need to know they had a test. I didn't need to know all this stuff. I would check in with them. How's it going? Are there any classes that are having any trouble? You know, I would do that. And I would look at their, you know, interim grades. I would look at that. But I don't want to see their grade at week to week. You know, that's too much pressure. I mean, I feel bad that they even know their grades week to week in high school and stuff because, you know, I don't remember that pressure. We had a test. We had to wait a week or two before we got it back, and we were able to let it go.
Yeah, I think there isn't that space of, going back to moms and parents in general, the pressures that are on us. Like when my kids are all in school, you're right, between all the different teachers and all the different apps that they want us to have, and everybody always means well. That's what I always start off with thinking, is these teachers, they mean well. They want to communicate. They're trying to figure it out. But when you open your inbox, like you say, and every day there's 100 emails or something between all the kids' school and everything like that, it can get overwhelming. And I think that's why there's a lot of us that just feel as moms overwhelmed because there's so many things to respond to and so many extra pressures. And no matter what decision we make, inevitably there would always be another decision. And I tell moms the best way to look at it is to go to Target and be a mom that has to buy a pacifier because there's an entire row dedicated to these pacifiers for kids. And then beyond the entire row, there's the group of moms and people that say you don't want them. So you shouldn't use them.
Right,
so there's no right or wrong. How do you even begin to make a decision there? And I think it comes down to making the best decision you can and letting and loving everybody else for making the best decision they can. And if your decision doesn't match with theirs, it doesn't become that yours is wrong. It's just that everybody else has got the same freedom to make decisions. And that's where that kind of exhale of the pressures can come.
Yeah, definitely. And when we can share those exhales as writers, as bloggers, I think that can, help. I'm hoping that it's helping moms and encouraging them to know that, you have to make decisions what's right for your family. I know a lot of people have, talked to me about school issues. Now our kids go to public school, love our public schools, think they're great. I have very good friends who homeschool their kids. I have also good friends who send their kids to private schools. I think all those options are fantastic. And,
I'm with you.
But sometimes I hear moms saying, well, I feel so much pressure to do, school A choice. And I'm like, well, is it right for your family? She goes, I really don't want to do that. I said, then why are you considering it? I mean, it's just giving them the freedom to go, you do what's right. And then it doesn't say that it has to be the decision for the rest of your kid's life. We often think, oh, if I put them in this type of schooling environment, I have to do that for the rest of my life.
That is so true. I mean, that pressure of that. I homeschooled for 12 years. My kids also went to private school. And for the last 6 years, my kids have gone to public school. So as a writer for moms, I am on the same page as you. Like for right now, my kids that are in school, they are thriving in school. Like they absolutely love it. And it's absolutely what is best for my family in this moment. Maybe 10 years ago, that was what was best for my family.
Sure.
And that's the beauty of it is you are not bound to one decision for 12 years. You have this ability to reassess every year and sometimes in the middle and to figure out, what is the ebb and flow, and understanding that, again, sometimes for some kids, it's a different story. It's a different path, and they don't all have to follow the same path.
I love that. And I think that's going to be a great way to end our talk today because, we need to look at our family, consider what's right, whether it's schooling, whether it's technology, whether it's friends and those kind of things. We know moms, we know our families. So trust your instinct, and your decision you make today doesn't have to last your whole kid's life. You can reevaluate and change your mind.
I love that. That is absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So you've been listening to You've Got This. I'm your host, Sarah Hamaker, and I've been talking to Rachel Martin. You can find her at findingjoy.net and her book, The Brave Art of Motherhood. I hope you'll join me next week.
Thanks for listening to this week's podcast of You've Got This with Sarah Hamaker. Sign up to receive notification of new podcasts and listen to previous editions at sarahhamaker.com. Until next time, remember, parenting might be hard sometimes, but don't worry, you've got this.